again, everyone, and welcome. Today I thought that I would tie a fly that I like to call Seatrout Samurai. It's tied like Michael Fordin's Samurai, but fat and wide, and as fluffy as I can get it. So it's a meaty fly, and this one I will use to hunt big fat chromers this spring, and hope that it will make me happy. And here I have started with fluorescent magenta in medium and fluorescent blue in extra small. And I tie this with a black thread 12-0 for Dean flies. Start by attaching the two tubes together, and as always these wraps are pretty hard, and then we go down and we'll leave about 5 millimeters for a small hook. And on this fly there's gonna be sea lice silver SSS braid for ribbing, and for the body we have evil magenta. This is a modern silver Wilkinson tied as a Seatrout Samurai, which I think that I will fish during the day in the first fishing in River Em. Cover up the thread with the first turn, and then just work your way forward. Lock it in with a few turns, fold it back, and a few more turns. And now I will put in some dubbing, and here I have used evil magenta and with a few strands of glitz dubbing, Clearwater blue. So the colors comes together nicely, and the glitz strands makes for a little more flash around the fly. And here you don't have to put on so much, because we will put on 2 wings here, and then after the wings we will put on more dubbing, and after that we will put on rubber legs, and then two hackles in the front. So it's time for the ribbing. Sea lice silver SSS braid, which I spin to the diameter I want it to. Pull it down hard into the dubbing. Here you don't need to be so thorough when you tie it in, so I tie it a bit forward, fold it, and lock it in. Like that. And now we will do some brushing, so the fibers of the dubbing gets out. That's enough. as we do every time, is that we cut off the ones that are long enough to tangle in the hook. And now we start with a magenta wing. I will take out a few of the stiffer strands here, like that, so we have a bit of the soft hair as well. And then we taper it by pulling in the middle, fewer and fewer strands, like that. And then we tie it in, a loose turn, pull down, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And we'll check so it gets a nice spread here. Now we can take away the strands that we don't want. That looks good. And we trim away the waist. And as I said before, here you don't have to be thorough when you do this, because there's going to be a lot of dubbing on this afterwards. So that's the first wing, and now we will take some Evil Magenta HD angel hair. I want one more strand of the actual magenta, 2 more. And you spread it between your fingers, put it on, just one turn, fold it back, try to make it spread evenly on top of the wing, like that. And now we cut them off in different lengths. A few of them was a little too long, so I just trimmed them off in different lengths, but shortened them. Like that. And now we will have a natural grey wing on top of this. And we will try to taper this as well. Just pull a little in the middle until you're satisfied. And this should be longer than the first. Like this. And a loose wrap. Pull down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I pull it down on the sides a bit to get the spread I want and to evenly cover the magenta wing, which we tied in earlier. And I think this looks pretty good. I'm not happy with this one. And this one could be a little shorter as well. There we are. And sometimes I run the comb through it to see if it's good. There we are. I'm happy with that. And we cut away the waist. Like that. And here we will put on a few strands of the blue, Clearwater blue. This is going to be flashy. A flashy fly. Put it on wide. One turn. Fold it back. And a few more turns. That looks good. Wide. Nice and wide. We'll cut off these strands too. In different length. And these two blue ones were too long. So I cut them off a little shorter, but in different length. Looks good. And now we will use some glue here. As I said before, we don't have to be thorough with the front here because it's going to be covered in dubbing, just like Fredin's Samurais. But we will do this. This wing is wide, and we will use quite a big amount of dubbing here. So back to dubbing. Some glue on my fingers. Just don't get any glue on your dubbing fingers, because if you get glue on your dubbing fingers, you have dubbed. You're done with the dubbing for the day. So if you want to get glue on some fingers, it should be on the right hand. I have gotten glue on my left hand while tying flies, and it's impossible to dub it on afterwards. And here we create a big lump of dubbing. So that the fly gets a nice and wide drop form. My first thought with this was that I tied this fly for the fishing in the dark for sea trouts, and I'm so bad at making muddler heads. So instead of making a lot of ugly muddler heads, I used charcoal black dubbing on my black flies and made a big lump here, which I brushed out a little bit, but it still had the same shape as a muddler head. But I don't think that some people say that muddler heads make sound in the water, and I don't think that this head will make any sound, but my vibrating rubber legs that I will tie on, I hope that they will make some sound when they vibrate. And as you can see, it gets a lot of glitter here, but we have the volume that we want to make a drop form and to make the fly vibrate more. I will use rubber legs. In this case I chose blue ones because I think they go well with the pattern. And now I tie these in on each side, and I use very loose wraps, because if I use loose wraps now, I can put them in the position I want them before I secure them. And I want 2 on the sides and 2 underneath, like this. And I think that these are in a pretty good position already. So I take these 2 in the bottom and I pull them back. I hold all of them back, and I still use very loose turns so I can adjust the rubber legs, and now I think they sit very good. So then we take our little hair clamp, pull them back, and now instead of pulling hard and securing them with a thread, I take some glue and put the glue on the thread. And I secure them with glue instead of pulling hard, because if I pull hard they will not be in the same spot where they are now. And I still don't use any pressure because the glue will do its job. And then I let the little hair clamp go, and I see that the rubber legs are exactly where I want them. Now I just shorten them a bit. The ones on top gets to be a little bit longer than the 2 underneath, because the 2 underneath I don't want to reach the hook, of course, but I want them to vibrate underneath the body. So you see now they can't reach the hook, but they will vibrate nicely. And these 2 on the sides can't reach the hook, can reach the hook, but they will swim on the side of the wings. And now we're gonna start with a grizzly magenta hackle in front here. And now we don't want to destroy our rubber legs when we tie this in, so just hold everything back and don't go further back, and then we attach the rubber legs so they sit perfectly. Now I need my hackle plier. And we will tie on some hackle in the front. And we don't have to be shy when we tie on hackle on this fly, because we want it bulky and fluffy. First turn, as close to the rubber legs and the dubbing as you can, and then just keep on working a little bit forward. And I like this fluffy part because it's soft and it will swim well in the water. Now we don't need more of this, so just take away the strands and lock it in. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 hard turns. Then I pull this a bit and it gets even tighter. Gets even tighter. Tight like a tiger. Which movie did I say that in? You're tight like a tiger. And I don't know, sorry, I lost my thread here, but I think this looks pretty good. And now, as a last hackle, take a little soft blue one, so it gets a little more silver Wilkinson-y, and you don't have to be shy with this hackle either. The fluffier the better. When the sea run browns come up, those ones that come up the river and wants to feast on whatever is in the river, small fish, and I think it's only small fish they feed on them when it's cold in the water. We will present them this, and they will go, oh no, it broke the stem, but we should be okay. I'm hoping that the chromers will go for this one. Fished a little closer to the surface and with a little more speed. That's more than enough. So take that off, lock it in. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And now we have a fluffy Seatrout Samurai Silver Wilkinson. And I have really high hopes for these flies in the beginning of the season, when we are fishing for sea trout in the ice cold rivers. And now we need something beautiful to put on as a head. And what do we have here? I wanted a extra small magenta, but we don't have any one of these left. I could put on a blue one, but it disappears in the blue hackle and the blue extra small fits tubing. So I will see if I have anyone in brass. No! What am I gonna do? Now I'll have to go with the blue one. Sorry. I would much rather have gone with a magenta metallic, but this blue one will do. The fish won't mind, but it's nice to use the contrast of the colors. But I really like the blue ones, but I think that magenta would have been a better fit. And some glue on the thread, like that. Hold back the hackle and try to get all the turns on top of each other, so we can easily cover up this little thread head with the blue micro turbo tungsten. And now I need my, it's very messy here, but here it is. Nicholas Bauer's tubes that we tie pike flies on. I use them to push down the cone heads. And I push it down hard. And now you can't see any thread. And the hackle is still standing straight up, so I don't fold it back, which I don't want to, because I want this to be able to move in slow waters. And if I had put on a cone head which pulled them down like this, they wouldn't have swimmed as nicely as they do as when they point straight out now. So this will just pulsate in the water. Cut it off. A little flash, and the magenta, the natural gray, and a lot of magenta dubbing with a few blue flash strands from the clear water blue glitz dubbing, and some rubber legs to create some more motion and hopefully some sound, and a magenta hackle and a blue hackle. So we are done with this Seatrout Samurai. Cut it off, save a few millimeters, and melt it down a little by little, as always. And I take my Fredine Flies dubbing needle, I put it in the hole, and I make sure that I can fit fat leaders into this fly if I want to. And yeah, I think this fly looks pretty good. And the reason that I didn't taper this as much as on the salmon fly is because I want the sea trout to reach the hook and take the fly, so they just don't bite it in the ass, in the tip of the wing. But I think it looks quite good. And if you haven't tried this kind of fly for sea trouts early spring, I think that you should give them a go, because they work and they swim very nice with the soft hackle and the rubber legs and the wing. So that's it. A little shorter video this time, because this is a fast fly to tie, because you don't have to be so thorough when you tie it. It looks pretty good when you're done, because you have covered up all the ugliness with dubbing and hackle. So thank you for watching, and I will see you again soon. This is the first, I have a cold, I'm sorry. This is the first fly that I will use when I get to Riverian. And I will tie a few smaller ones, and I will definitely tie a few bigger ones if it's colder in the water or the water is high. I will use some bigger flies as well. Thank you. Bye bye.